All right, this is something I've wanted to do for a while. I just never got around to it, and that is these microcontrollers have a lot of hardware in them, not just being like a microprocessor. They have other functions and stuff. And one of the functions is a timer. And so we're going to talk about that today. And I'm going to be basically talking about the ATTINY3224. That's my favorite chip. So we're going to be talking about that. It's a little 14-pin SOIC. And this is the block diagram for that particular part. And it has things like I2C and SPI and regular RS-232 type UART, 5 volts. But it's got EEPROMs and VRAMs, and it's actually quite a sophisticated part. And we're going to be talking about this particular block right here, TCB, okay? The TCB block. And let's take a look at this microprocessor, though. It can run up to 20 megahertz, so we're gonna run it at 20 megahertz. So that's going to be the master clock, and it doesn't require an external crystal. You can use an external crystal if you like, but it also will run with internal circuitry at 20 megahertz. You got 32K of flash, 3K of RAM, 256 bytes of EEPROM. And then it's got 32 bytes of special EEPROM that sticks around even though you erase the part and stuff. So that's kind of strange. Got some weird 32 kilohertz, really low frequency stuff. I want to investigate that someday. It's got one 16-bit counter type A and two 16-bit counters type B. That's what we're going to be looking at today, the type B, and there's two of them. So the type B counter, and there's also a real-time clock, and a whole bunch of stuff in here, all right? So we're going to be taking a look at the TCB, 16-bit timer counter type B, and it'll do a bunch of stuff. And what we're going to be doing today, even specialized on that, is we're going to be doing the 8-bit pulse width modulation, okay? It'll do other things as well. I'll get around to those someday. But today we're going to talk about the 8-bit pulse width modulation. And so the way that it works is, this is not really going to tell you exactly what's going to go on. A little bit. There's some control logic. There's a counter, the count, and then there's a comparator. When it reaches a certain count, it then outputs an equals. So you can tell it start to count, and then you can load in a value here, and when the count equals that value, it then can control the waveform, so you can have let me show you a different diagram. It might make it easier to understand. So here, we're going to have two controls. We're going to have the CCMP low and the CCMP high. And then this is like, these ramps are like counting. So I'm going to count. And when I reach the CCMP, when I reach this one, it'll start over again, and it just counts. Now, the other one is a logic threshold, okay? So we're going to count until we reach that value, and then that will give us what we need. So we're going to hold the line high until we reach that value, and then we'll pull the line low. And then it'll go high and then low, and then high and then low. And so by setting one of the values, we can set the period. And by setting the other value, we can change the pulse width. So we can create a square wave or any other duty cycle, and then it will just go round and round and round. All right, I have a little part here on a little board. It's right over here, tiny little part. It's a 14-pin SOIC, and I'm powering up just with my programmer. So I'm going to be programming with the UPDI. I did a video on that. Look up UPDI on my channel, and it'll tell you how to do it. It's a one-wire programming, so only one wire is used to program the part. That goes into pin 10. All right, and then we're going to hook an oscilloscope up to two different pins, pin 3 and pin 13, okay? And those are connected to the counters, right? And I've programmed this to output a particular frequency. Okay, so one of the timers is this one, all right? And we can read the frequency here. It's 952 kilohertz, right about 1 megahertz. And then this one down here is asynchronous, so it's not triggering on it, but if we just trigger a single shot, you can see this one is a much slower clock. Okay, so how did we get here? What does that program look like to set these registers? We need to set one register for the period, one register for the pulse width, one register to tell it go into this pulse width modulation mode, and then we need to tell it to turn on, and then we also need to enable the output, okay? So we will take a look at the program. All right, so the first thing we need to do is enable the output pin. So we're going to enable port data lines 1 and 10, which are equivalent to PA5 and PA3, which are equivalent to physical pins 3 and physical pins 13. So there's a bunch of numbers that you have to straighten out in your head. There's these things called PA. There's a data bus inside the part PA port. It's a port address. So there's a port A, there's a port B, and this part. Some of the parts have port C's. This part does not. It only has ports A and ports B, and just a limited number of each. So anyway, PA5 will be this one, and PA5, PA3. Okay. So then we're going to have remember there's two counters of type B. There's B0 and B1, so two different counters. So we need to tell the device these are going to be output pins. So this is standard stuff. We just tell it that they're outputs. Now here's the magic. We're going to tell it the period and the pulse width. And the way that you do that is you're going to start with the master frequency, which is 20 megahertz, and then you're going to divide it by this number. So 20 megahertz divided by 20 is 1 megahertz. And that's what we saw over there. We saw about a 1 megahertz pulse, okay? And here we set the duty cycle and just set it to half of that one if you wanted a 50%, okay? So let's change it a bit here. We weren't exactly 1 megahertz. I found that 19 gives you a little bit better 1 megahertz. And then let's go ahead and do 5 here, just so you can see the duty cycles, a different duty cycle, okay? We're going to compile the sketch. We're going to upload it, and it'll go zip, zip, zip. It's real fast down here, and it's done. And we will come over here and do another single shot. And you can see that our second timer hasn't changed at all, but our first timer is now 998.7, so much closer to 1 megahertz. So, and the duty cycle is 5 out of 20. So it's giving us this pulse. Okay, so so that's what these two numbers do. The other thing that you need to do is you need to tell it to go into pulse width modulation mode. So you have to set this bit, and then you have to tell it to turn on, which is that bit, okay? And then we need to do one last thing, all right? And that is we're going to be taking some clock and dividing it by 20, right? What clock do we take? Well, you can use different clocks. And so what this line does is it says use the CPU clock, the 20 megahertz clock, and it says div1, which means don't use it as is, use it as 20 megahertz. If you selected div2, it actually pre-scales it, and you would have 10 megahertz going into the counter, so that could be handy. And you can also have it use the clock output from the TCA clock. So there's a timer TCA, and if you use TCA, you can use the output of that to feed into TCBB, so you can cascade these things. Now, just be aware that TCA timer is used in the Arduino language as delay. The delay or delay milliseconds, delay microseconds, those functions use timer A. So it's best just not to use them in your application if you ever want to use them. You can use them, but it's going to screw up. You won't ever be able to use the delay functions of the Arduino libraries. So that's all there is. Here's a condensed one for the other timer. Remember, we have to do 4 different things. On this one, we're gonna divide by 100 this time, And we're going to use, at this bottom one, we're going to use div 2. We're going to take the 20 megahertz, we're going to divide it by 2, so we'll have 10 megahertz, and then we're going to divide it by 100. So we'll end up with 100 kilohertz, okay? And then we do the other normal stuff. And if you come over here and take a look at the waveform, and you read the little numbers down there, the current is 98.95 kilohertz. So that's what the other timer is doing. So, and then it's hardware. So your loop is just nothing. It's not doing anything. Once you set the hardware, it's hands off. So imagine if you have a part that you need different clocks and stuff, you can set these two things up, and you have two different clocks, and they're not interrupt driven. They're not going to do anything. They're just going to run in hardware, which is a super, super nice thing to have. Yeah, it's almost like having a programmable 555 timer, right? Throw away your 555 timer, you get two of these, so it's like a 556. Is that the double 555? So you get two of them. In fact, if you're just going to be doing the hardware, go ahead and use the A counter as well. You'll have three of them. So anyway, there you go. That's a short little video, maybe not so short, but we're using the chip in hardware mode just to generate clocks, and I think that can come in super, super handy.